Architectural Review. My name is Todd Howard, and I serve as the chairperson of this meeting. The other members in attendance today will now introduce themselves.
Nathan Shaw.
Peter Metzko.
Christine Tedesco.
Andrew Neptune.
The Clemson Planning and Codes Office staff member in attendance is Jacob Peabody. The recording secretary of this meeting is Rebecca Wilbanks. BAR members are appointed by the Clemson City Council. The BAR's responsibilities focus on the design aspects of projects located within one of the 5 architectural overlay districts in the city of Clemson. A copy of the agenda for this meeting can be found in the outside lobby. If you are a member of the public and would like to speak regarding a matter on the agenda, you will need to read and sign the speaker's form. On the back of the speaker's sign-in form is a list of things that fall within the purview of the BAR and a list of things that don't. You will be asked for the signed form should you choose to speak. Anyone speaking will be required to stand at the podium, and there will be no speaking from the audience. The meeting will be conducted in the following manner. For each agenda item, the BAR will hear a report from the planning staff. After the staff report, the applicant will be given an opportunity to present their application and demonstrate that it complies with the relevant criteria. Any resident or owner of a business or property in Clemson is allowed to comment on the application and provide feedback to the BAR at each review stage. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to provide comments and feedback. Please consider appointing a spokesperson. If there are multiple people wishing to speak, please do not repeat information already presented by someone else. Questions asked by the board during a presentation will not count toward the time limit. At its discretion, the board may allow the applicant 3 minutes for rebuttal. All comments and questions must be directed to the chairperson, who will respond or direct the question to the appropriate party for response. Any written comments received by the planning office a week ago or longer have been submitted to the BAR and will be considered in its decision. After all comments are offered, the chairperson will close the hearing portion of the meeting, and the BAR will discuss and evaluate the information presented in the context of the requirements of the city code. We ask that you please turn off all cell phones and place them in the silent mode. As a reminder to board members, please avoid side conversations and crosstalk. Again, welcome to the meeting. Okay, good evening. So that's going to start us off with the minutes. We need to approve those from our last board meeting. So there were just a couple of minor corrections that we made to them. Is there anybody willing to make a motion that we approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, minutes are accepted. Excellent. Okay, so we have the... Okay, so our action item tonight is, I don't have all the lingo for it, but it is...
Coming directly.
That's okay.
I was going to pull it up on my phone.
Okay, so we did, we looked at the minutes, make sure I got everything, adoption, we're great. Okay, so building and site review, 2024 AR16. Applicant Chris Kraft, Sign South, is requesting approval of marquee style lighting along the perimeter of the building at 364 College Avenue. So first we'll open it up to staff for a report.
So the property is Zone C and is in the AR District 1 core. I think you guys probably all know this building. It's the Tigertown Sports Shop, former movie theater right downtown. And their proposal is to outline the edges of the roof line with string lighting. To do so, they do need Board of Architectural Review approval. Now, the lights will be on a dimmer, and they have clarified that it'll be at 2700 Kelvin, which I provide you guys with kind of a little sheet here to show you where that falls into the range. But it is kind of low in the warmer section. And honestly, that's basically all there is to this application. With that, I'll turn it over if the applicant wants to add anything.
I guess we can both go up.
Okay. You want both?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Come on up.
I first saw these kind of lights in San Antonio about 25 years ago, and I've been wanting to do this project for that long. But they look so good on all the buildings, and it just at night, that just gives it an extra sparkle. And so I finally found somebody who could do it.
Yeah.
And he worked with the Army Navy store downtown Greenville.
Yeah, I put a picture on there just to kind of show an example.
So this is Chris Kraft, and I'll let him kind of explain.
All right. And we've done these several places, like I did in the movie theater and Tryon and some other little areas that we've done. And y'all had a good example too. Central's got a lot of them downtown. And then these lights here, we've already had an electrician come out and check the power. And these are very low voltage, they're LED, so they won't pull many amps. And the electrician's already checked how we'll tie them in, that they're sufficient with the circuit we're gonna tie into. So they'll tie in with the signage that's on the building, and they're run by a time clock, so we can cut them off, at an appropriate time, during the night or whenever. And like you said, they're dimmable, so if they need to be a little bit dimmer or whatever during the day, and faded, so you can make it slowly dim or whatever. But that's kind of the gist of it. The one I showed you, the Army Navy, that's a little bit more of a cluster because they're double rows, and this will just be a single row, so it won't be quite as much as that. And they look great downtown. We really want that. Everybody loves that sign. So.
What is the spacing on the bulbs?
Let me see if I have that. I can't remember. I'm thinking it's like 5 inches, but I'm not positive on that. But I can find that out if I don't have it right here.
Scale-wise and distance, that looks more like
Let me see if he.
probably 10 inches.
No, I think it's a little less. If you don't mind, I'm gonna look.
No,
here.
sure.
He had sent me something that I forgot about. Let's see here. 4 or 6 inch spacing.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be a little denser than,
It would be,
yeah.
it would be a closer density to a single row on the Army Navy store.
And this is kind of what, it goes on a track that we'll mount. It's real low profile, so basically it's almost just the socket that you'll go on.
Oh, so they slide?
Yeah, so that'll just go across the border of the building.
Oh, so it can go between 4 and 6 inches, I got you.
Right, you can space it.
So I have a question
But I
there.
guess that's the recommended probably, so you can adjust that.
Okay.
Yes.
So is this to scale then, the spacing of these lights?
I don't, probably not. That's just something my graphics guy, I kind of told him to show marquee lighting.
Okay.
So that's probably not. So if it does look closer or further, that's a good point.
I mean, on the
That's
corners,
probably
it
not
looks like
too
a foot, and then going back the side, it looks
With
further.
a dot in between each dot, you kind of get the sense of.
Yeah. Do you know the wattage of the bulbs?
I know the amperage is it's only like very minimum for all of them, but I think there's like a 12 watt, it's not much.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can get, if y'all need more detailed specs on the bulbs, I can get that. I didn't, he just emailed it to me on the way here. It comes out of it's a place all they do is lighting out of Montana. And I've done stuff with them before. I mean, they do carnival rides, all that kind of type marquee lighting, so.
Do the lights die at the theater sign, or do they keep running behind the Clemson?
Where are you talking about now?
So if you look at the front of the building, and from our vantage point, we can see the lights to the right.
Oh, they die right there. That part of the wall kind of ends right there. And then you don't have that same section like that on the other side. So we're only doing that part on this side.
Okay.
So around that goes all the way around where you just had your cursor. That part goes all the way around. That's about 50 feet. And then you got 10 feet, and you got up the top, you got that on both sides.
How far back down the alley does it go?
Well, we were just talking about that. I've got it right now going back about that door, which is about 20 feet. But Julie we were just talking, aesthetically, it might look better just to go ahead and run them on down. It might look, actually look better. The reason I was kind of looking at that, if you're standing there on the street, that's kind of pretty much your visibility, because once you start going down the street, you can't really see much of that.
Sure.
But from up higher or down, you might like it. It might look better all the way down.
So one more question here. To the left of that, where that tree is, the building goes all the way, goes down on that side. Is it going to be on the top of that side too, right there?
Over there, where the marquee is.
That's a different building.
That picks up another.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And this thing, it's kind of off-centered, if y'all can remember, that, the way that marquee is so you don't have, it's not all set up the same way on both sides of the
So
building.
it terminates kind of at the property line.
And so the marquee is centered on the section of the roof that's above it, not the face that it's mounted on, it looks like.
No, I think I'm wrong about that. I don't think that's a different
I got,
building.
you know, looking at this side of
Our-
the
our,
street, I thought that building was connected
Our
on.
awning goes past that. I thought it
Originally got a
was,
street view, I'll show you right now.
Yeah, it goes a little bit past it.
yeah.
Yeah, right there,
Yeah,
is what I was talking about, right there.
Wall there. We can put that up there. It should really be up there.
Yeah, that looks like the same.
We should have that.
Same size.
Okay. And I don't know why we didn't for some reason.
I remember,
I
I don't know if it was just,
visibility
it's kind
or-
of omitted, I think.
Or maybe it was because of the tree, way the tree was, I don't know.
Back.
It could be, I don't know.
Apparently, a little bit. I don't think I can.
Is there, not a middle?
I think it'd be nice to see, you know, an additional view there with the lights spaced as you want them to scale. And the other question I have is, you know, we now have those apartments above, and we all have different opinions on those apartments, but will those lights go off at 10 or midnight, you know, because the apartments are right there? I mean,
Well, they, like I said, they'll be on a time clock.
Okay, so Julie,
I
what-
guess, how
what are your
how
thoughts?
do you close, or what time do you usually turn
Well,
the
we're
lights?
usually close no later than 8, sometimes 10, but yeah, that would, I guess that would be important to have them off at midnight.
just for the residents up there in case they're getting too much light. It is low light, but we don't, it may bother somebody, I don't know, but
Yeah.
Yeah, we could set that up on. the
yeah,
calendar.
if that, yeah, that might be a good
I'd
idea.
also think about how the lights terminate around the corner on the left-hand side, since, you know, I know it would be across the street to really be able to see that, but like, do they terminate right at the corner? Do they wrap around at all?
They go all the way back.
So I do like the idea of them going all the way back because I think it's going to add visual depth. When you're across, you know, yes, when you're on this sidewalk, it won't matter. But when you're across the street looking back, I think it's going to actually hide the view of the apartments
Yeah, 'cause your
because
eye
you'll
will
have
stop at
light.
the lights.
Your eye will stop at the light. And lights actually,
That was our whole point.
oh, sure.
Well, definitely will draw attention
Make
to
them
the
brighter, then
building.
it'll really stop.
Yeah.
So are you saying have them on the left long side as well?
Yeah,
I think that would actually look the best.
So lower on the left side and upper too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we had it on the upper, I think, but it may not show on that.
Oh, it was.
Because I agree, at nighttime, your eye will kind
Not
of stop.
side.
Your eye stops at the light.
And then,
Yeah.
And so my biggest concern is really the spacing on them.
Yeah.
I think classic and you know, you use words like amusement park and things like that, and that's the last thing we want it to feel like. And so I think the old classic where you see almost the individual bulbs, I mean, being 6 inches apart is basically a bulb every, you know, like that far. I mean, they're pretty close. And because at a distance, so if there's an option where you're closer to 8 or 10 inches, I think that would actually look better. At 6 inches, it's going to feel a little more like a line and not like that classic, that's just, you know,
well, one thing with classic marquee signs, the lights were always, like if you go up in New York, Broadway or Radio City Music Hall, the lights are always around the sign itself or the name of the building. They're not really, like, they're not bordering the building itself, they're around the sign. So it would be around where it says Tiger Sports Shop, that blue part around there, for a classic marquee sign with lights like this.
yeah, but I've seen it done, like, I've seen, you know, the building wrap and it looks really nice on the, you know, on the top
Yeah.
when
trim.
you can read it as
You have, I think, you
Yeah, I
have it
mean-
in the central.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. But I mean, they even have it in classier places than Central.
Let's go look at, if we want to, let's look, if we could, like, he's got this picture of the central ones downtown, see how those look to y'all, see if
Because
that
in
makes
this
any difference.
image, they read.
Because that's kind of going around the border of the building.
You talking about downtown Central?
Right.
Whereabouts?
Yeah, almost all of them.
Building.
Ponchos.
This may be
That's a
4
classic.
inches on center, 4 or 5.
Yeah, they're not much.
And this, you know, these look like they're a
These are
foot.
really sweet.
So,
Yeah,
And I can
see,
scale
this is
it
actually
better.
what it
yeah,
is.
if you can scale
That's
what you
what
guys want, or maybe scale at 10 and scale at 6 and, yeah.
Yeah, I can scale that to because I know I have all those exact measurements of every section that they're going on.
Yeah.
So I think the way they're displayed here, I like the width between.
I like the one with this as well. Is there any option you can have of like 8 or 10 inches, or the ones you're
Let me
getting?
check out it. I was just looking at that one little spec. It says 4 to 6 inches. So I don't know if I don't know if that's just a recommendation they give or what. But I think I can move those. But I guess my concern is I don't know if to me I don't know if that might look too far.
Well, and I don't think
I think
this is necessarily the standard for quality.
I mean, this looks good.
Yeah, I
you know,
just remember.
And that's probably 10 or 12 inches.
Yeah.
This looks too close for what you're trying to do on this.
what's that?
I said, these look too close for what you're trying to do here. I think your intention is more this, right?
Yeah, that's pretty clustered there on that marquee. 'Cause
Yeah.
like you said, that's going back to the more classic marquee sign. And those are very close. It's on,
Like 10 inches on this
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
in some places.
Oh, yeah, it's too close. On Army Navy.
Yeah, but it's a little different.
I like the way it looks on here, but we don't know for sure if it's exactly the
That's
schedule.
what Central looks like at night.
Okay, so there's,
Okay.
are a little
Boy, it's really
closer.
close, yeah. Wow.
Because except from the vertical, they almost read just as like a line, right?
Kind of Central looks
I
like.
like the Christmas one.
And I
It's a
like
little
the
Christmas.
distance.
I like this as well.
It's bright at night.
Yeah,
And
I
that's the
do
only
like the
other
wrap
place downtown that
trees,
has them
you
is
know.
Nick's in there.
Right, but that's what it looks
If
like.
you think about,
Okay.
you know, like this is a good example
Yeah.
of how
Yeah.
far,
Or like the old Nick sign, see, that's like the old style marquee where it's surrounding the actual sign itself, and those are like 2 inches.
The front, like how they have it around.
So much over there.
but yeah, like here,
Yeah.
you're dealing with, I think a good 10 inches.
Yeah. Is there any public input for this? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of talk through it. You're welcome to take a seat and we'll just
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
Okay.
talk about our ideas and then we'll report out.
What you found?
So it feels like to me, do most of us like the idea of closer to 10-inch spacing?
8 to 10.
That's gonna be up to 4 to 6.
Yeah. I'd say we could approve with the condition that they come back
Yeah.
with the, like, with, you know, so they don't have to come back in front of the board.
Yeah.
I would just say we approve with the condition that they provide an option that matches the visual provided of closer to, we can say 8 to 12 inches, or, you know, 10 inches as a happy medium, so they don't go too close, or approximately 10
8 to 10,
inches.
yeah.
You
And
know.
then they just present,
Yeah, and then if they can't, for some reason they technically can't do that, their equipment won't go, then they'd have to come back in front of you guys.
okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
Do you
Okay.
want to look at another
And
view, the other side of the building?
I mean, honestly, I can picture it, so I just flip it in my head and and honestly, that streetlight's gonna wash out some of that. So it's you'll get more of just the bulb view than the, you know,
Continuous.
it won't feel as bright.
Well, these lights are backlit anyways, right? Where it says Tiger Sports Shop in Clemson, those are lit up as well, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I don't see that, and I mean, you got some big streetlights there. So I think that's gonna lessen the brightness in a positive way. So you'll get the effect of the lights without the like, why is there this bright white, light strip?
So what I'm hearing is the idea of every parapet covered and the wider spacing. And the idea is, we can pass that contingent upon the wider spacing, but if they can't get the wider spacing, then we would ask for them to come back. Okay.
And are we okay with the color?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the 27's good.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion along those lines?
I can. I would make a motion that we approve the lights with the condition of a wider spacing, approximately 10 inches, wrapping the top parapet right, left, and front completely, the racetrack-shaped parapet fully, and then to the right and left of the marquee.
Okay. Would someone like to second that?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise, oh wait, one thing. Do we want to stipulate that we're okay with the scale of this, like, we don't need to see anything else, right? We're good if they can meet the distance.
Well, were they gonna submit something for us to look at and we
Right,
not?
they're submitting that, and if they can't, then
Yeah.
they'll let,
So they'll submit a rendering with that spacing.
I don't think they I think they just have to provide the specs.
Yeah, all of them are
Yeah.
specs, John.
Yeah, they don't have to re-render it.
Okay.
I do have a question.
I'm sorry.
If we decide that we want to do the whole length on the right side, down, all the way down the alley, do we have to have another approval for that?
No.
No, that's what we
Get that approved
prefer.
for this?
We would actually prefer for it to run.
On both sides go.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go?
I think
We
that would.
prefer you to do that both sides because I think it'll add aesthetic appeal.
So both sides on the very tallest wall,
Yes, ma'am.
all the way back. So when you're on the top of Shepherd Inn, you can see it all the
It'll
way
look
down.
like Trent.
And across the street as you're coming up, you'll see the,
That was pretty cool.
yeah.
I like that.
Maybe all the buildings should do that.
Yeah, you can start a trend.
You know, we're talking about eventually having like little grants for downtown to like do kind of that type of thing, like
Oh, yeah.
having certain themes that, are repeated.
But we have a motion, we got to approve. Thanks.
So we have the motion, we have a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, so other than submitting the specs, if you can't get that spacing, that's the only reason you need to come back before us to.
Okay, and the spacing was 8 to 10.
So,
8 to 12, it says.
right, yeah, preferably in the 10-inch spacing would be our goal. And so if you can't hit close to that, then we would need to review to see what the result is.
And I'm gonna try to scale it so these y'all just get an idea.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Hey, cool, thank you, appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay,
It's gonna be a good project, I guess that's the last thing we gotta do.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, everybody.
oh, thank you. It's gonna look nice. Do we have any staff reports?
Not really. So I'm working on a ordinance right now called the middle housing ordinance, which we're kind of like looking to expand where people can do townhouses and even like quadplexes and stuff like that, but have really high design standards, have everything go in front of the Board of Architectural Review, even in those residential districts, and have the occupancy still at 2.
Is there any way we can put something in, anything in the codes where they have to rent by the apartment, not by the room, to try to get non-student housing, or push that? Because everyone's just doing by the room, which nobody's gonna rent, no adult is gonna rent by the room.
Yeah, I mean, we did it in a PD. I can throw it in there. The students still rent them by the
Oh, yeah.
apartment, but
They'll
yeah.
rent by the apartment, but it'll help out get some more
I
non-student
think the
housing.
occupancy is one of our biggest tools we can use to keep, at least trying to get it to be non-students. But the truth is, all the case studies are, you have to if you want to get affordable housing of any sort, you have to saturate the market.
Yeah.
You first have to completely fill your highest payers and then move down. So until we completely build out for students, realistically, we're not getting affordable housing.
And every year this university
So-
gets more.
We have to just allow a lot more construction if we
No, I
want
mean, not
affordable housing,
under
if
our
we're serious about affordable
jurisdiction.
housing.
Is the pier, are they started that, they started that huge
Yeah,
project before.
honestly,
It's like
I
4,500
believe
beds or
that
something out there.
we are gonna see I think we will, next year and definitely the year after, even with the enrollment increase at the university, I think we will see a softening in the student market. We have just so much coming online at the pier with the hub, I think
When is that pier gonna be done, do you know?
I mean,
it's
the
not
different
from their
phases
station or
of it,
anything.
but like over the next 2 years. Yeah, that's what we understand at least, but it's not in our jurisdiction, so
Yeah.
we only can go by what we hear. So I think we will see, some opportunities for affordable housing coming in at some point soon. And at some point, the university will stop growing. Thanks. But, so that's a fun project. So 2 things we haven't, and, I have some pretty good design standards, I think, on that, but again, my proposals basically have, you can do traditional single family, or if you want to you can do higher density, but just having to go in front of the Board of Architectural Review and just make it look nice. I think everyone's on board. We're also talking about potentially allowing some small scale, retail in certain conditions in residential. There's so like at the corner of like a main road coming out of a neighborhood, be able to do a little convenience store or something like that, but again, have basically the exact same standards of residential look, and really trying to work on how we would ever do that from a site conditions kind of point of view too. So.
Does the code now, for all of the housing that's downtown, does it allow like a grocery store to go into some of these retail that
We
are
just
empty?
changed the ordinance to allow for grocery stores.
That would
It
keep some
currently,
cars off the
it did not allow it downtown.
Okay,
Until
good.
we just changed that, like, as part of, actually, I got it in there as part of the whole, putting the parking in behind.
Because there's that Publix in the bottom level of some apartments, and like it's
Where?
in Greenville.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's those
Yeah,
apartments.
it's like Publix and then
Oh, yeah,
office
yeah,
buildings
right.
and then.
Yeah, we think somebody's
Yeah.
gonna do it. I mean, the person who's talked about it is, where Mr. Knickerbocker's
Well,
is.
Frank had that for a while.
He's talked about doing it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank had that, it was like a convenience store with
Kinda, yeah.
vegetables and stuff.
Yeah.
Because that would, if the students are all getting in their cars and going to the grocery
Yeah,
store, it
that'd be
keeps
great.
some cars off the road.
I think we're gonna see.
And
that
do you
pop-
lessen the parking requirement then, since students are already downtown and they have
C
a parking
district,
space?
C district has no parking requirement for commercial.
Okay.
You don't have to do
I
anything.
thought that ended at Key Street.
In the C district, so where, I'm trying to think where it switches over, probably right around Keith Street, somewhere around there,
That
but,
would be great. That'd be
but
really
yeah.
good.
So we might want to consider extending that up to CM, but
Yeah.
right now it is just the C, which is, I forget what's that
I
around.
think it goes right to the Key Street, so
Yeah.
Wiener's not in, or right where we are.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly where the cutoff is, if it's there or Edgewood, but one or the other.
That would be great.
So would the convenience stores be part of the building itself or something adjacent or?
In what situation, downtown, or
No,
are we
you
talking
were
about
talking
in a
about
residential?
earlier.
Oh, residential would be its own freestanding thing.
Okay.
So like you see it like a entrance of a neighborhood or something, so like, say that.
Because the pier has one, don't they, or they do?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Instead of a house doing,
But it'd have to look like a house, and again, with that, we'd also have, if that moves forward, that'd be extremely limited parking.
Yeah.
Because we want it to be a neighborhood grocery store, like a neighborhood convenience store, and it would also open up, we've always had these people saying, oh, we wish we had sewing stores and things like that, we're like, well, unless it's somebody doing it out of their garage in the backyard,
Yeah.
you're never gonna see one. So, maybe expanding where you can do very specialty things like that. So like a flower shop, a sewing store, all the things that financially you're never gonna make work in any of our commercial districts. So, just a thought that we're kind of waiting to if there's a way to do it that would work. And then the other thing that'll probably come from you guys is we're still working on the buffer ordinance. And it's gonna be, a lot of it's gonna be depending on height of adjacent structures,
Yeah.
much as anything else compared to each other, topography and everything else. And again, I'm thinking about having that kind of, it makes it a lot easier if I can kind of throw it on you guys to say, okay, like, just give you the authority to increase buffers. Basically say, in situations, have it just in the order saying the BAR has the authority to increase the buffer or require certain size plantings if the topography or use, warranted that kind of thing. So, just make things, I think that it would go better that way.
Awesome. And then the last thing is, I just took your template of the letter that you sent me, and then I just kind of added to it.
Great.
But I just wanted to give it to everyone else on the board, because I didn't want to send anything off that didn't represent our agreed upon stance, or if you feel like it needs to be phrased differently, and by all means, you don't have to, decide tonight, but I just wanted to get this in your hands. I think it speaks to the intent behind what we talked about last time, but I could have.
My only question is, here you have it say that the bar have review and recommendation authority on par. What we do is not necessarily recommendation. So is it,
You cannot get anything more than recommendation,
okay,
because the city council has the authority to approve or deny a PD.
Okay.
Planning commission does not.
And the code stipulates that the planning commission has to recommend, right?
Correct. They have to give a recommendation, but the city council does not have to follow their recommendation, but they do have to give one.
okay.
So I tried to put in
Clarifying.
language that spoke more to what we focus on
Yeah.
from the code,
Yeah.
that speaks to our purview, so. Bit of homework.
Good.
A little light reading.
Yes. But yeah, I was gonna, send this on to Robert, and
Yeah.
that's all we can do, right? Just express our desire, and
You may want to send this out via email for those who aren't here.
The second to last sentence, it says, with the developer city, give and take associated with PDs. Is that how it should read?
well,
Give and take being double quotes? I just was wondering.
okay, I got you, like give and take, since it's more casual in its phrasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not literal. What do you think? Like the idea of putting in a quotation mark?
You're the English teacher.
I spent 3 hours.
I'm just
today-
glad I know
Yeah,
what the
because
quotation
I
mark
like,
is.
I like the idea of quoting it.
I spent
Yeah, I
3
think that
hours
makes
today
sense.
reading legalese, and my brain's mush.
I like
Yeah, I
that.
forgot
Because
you.
we don't want people to think that,
My day job.
we don't want to have the city council take it as a assertion that they're
Giving and taking.
Giving and taking
Yeah.
with a developer, like, 'cause there's been some,
Yeah.
you know what I'm thinking, it's like some sort
A
of wheeling.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go back and revisit that for sure.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Great start. You're almost done.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for putting that together.
Oh,
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Todd.
so I will adjourn.